The Chinese have a saying where they say, when you have a problem, ask the young, they know everything. It is not meant to be a compliment. It simply says that they think they know everything. The real society is composed of young and old people. That is the real society. And I hold the view that leadership is intergenerational. And the young must learn from the old, but the old must also know when to leave. There are some fellows who think he says that God has allowed him to stay. Which God?
Hello guys, this is Neo Africa. I hope you are doing great. Happy New Year, happy 2026 now. It's amazing that we are all here today because there's a speech of PLO Lumumba. I want us to listen. And it's a speech for the youths. It's an advice for the youths, okay? Now, PLO Lumumba delivers a deeply philosophical and pan-African message on leadership, youth, mentorship, and African future. You know, on this speech, he's rejecting the false ideas of that society should be led by only the young or only the old. We talk about that, okay? We talk about that because at the core of this argument is that true leadership is not about the age. It's intergenerational. And that's what I think. That's what I think. Leadership is not just about the young and the old and, it's intergenerational because the young bring energy. The young bring what I call innovation. The young bring urgency. And while the old bring wisdom. What an old man can see while sitting down, a young man cannot see even if he is standing on the tallest building. You know what I mean? Yeah, but some days we say wahenga waamini. Young people can see even while sitting. So PLO Lumumba on this speech, he warns youth arrogance using a Chinese saying to explain that young people often believe they know everything. And that is reality. And that's what is happening. That's what is ruining other countries because we are championing for the youths in leadership. Okay? But at some point, the youths, they think they know everything. All the people, they know limits. They know there's a warning here. They know there's a soccer here. They know there is a bad road here. They have this wisdom. But for youths, they are like, okay, there's a soccer way. We're going to jump. Okay? The old people will take 100 years or will take like 10 years to build a ship, a boat so that they can cross. But young people will say, we're going to swim. We don't need bridges. We don't need this. We want to chop. Let's listen to this 5-minute speech and then we continue.
The Chinese have a saying where they say, when you have a problem, ask the young, they know everything. It is not meant to be a compliment. It simply says that they think they know everything. The real society is composed of young and old people. That is the real society. And I hold the view that leadership is intergenerational. And the young must learn from the old, but the old must also know when to leave. There are some fellows who think he says that God has allowed him to stay. Which God? God tells Moses to leave and allow Joshua to take charge. So you've got to, if you are not a leader unless you mentor people. And mentorship, I always tell my young people that you are not a leader if you cannot show me at least 10 young men and women who are better than you. That is what leadership is all about. If you want to be the only dancer on the floor, then you are not a leader. You are destroying people. So you must ensure that when you get into any position of influence, then you use that position to mentor young men and women. And the youth must remember that youthhood is not a permanent state. You are youth today, and a few years later you are not a youth. So so your period of youthhood, if you may, is very short. Youthhood is not like being man and a woman. Man and a woman, once you are man, you are man. At least the last time I checked. And once you are woman, you are woman. So let us be very slow in having this very blanket, general negative view about people because of their age. I know young people whose minds are like Methuselah in the Bible. And I also know old people whose minds are as fresh as if they were 18 and 25. Let us deploy that intellectual firepower for the sake of our nation. And if the balance is good and right, then it can be done. And Nelson Mandela was very right, particularly, that you cannot, in all consideration, tie down the bulk of your population. Africa is the youngest continent today. The average age is about 18. Some say it is even 16. And you only have to drive, even as you go into rural Zambia and rural Africa, see the number of young people, which means that those young men and women must be taken care of. And we must use this youth dividend to our advantage. History has demonstrated not once, not twice, all of us are susceptible to abuse power. All of us. And therefore democracy is guarded by eternal vigilance. I can imagine the current president. Allow me a little imagination, Honorable Minister. That's because I leave on Monday anyway. So I'm allowed a little imagination. I can imagine that your administration, your party has this blueprint and is all good. You possibly want to have a lean, mean government. But somebody emerges from somewhere and say, you know, we have been in this thing together, you have only 26 million, add another one. And then you say, which one? He says, your ministry, science and technology. You say, let's slice technology, and we give it to somebody else. Then somebody comes by, before you know it, you have 50 ministries. Because you want to please people. So it requires resolute. You will annoy some, you will harm some, and all is in the best interest of the country. It's the famous St. John who said, nobody can govern guiltlessly. We'll all make mistakes, but we must not persist in our stupidity. And I think that is what we must not do. I must say that elections are in and of themselves an opportunity to market your ideas in a laboratory situation. When you get into the arena, then you discover that the laboratory is quite different. There are too many variables outside of the laboratory. And you begin to discover that they are civil servants. They are civil servants who can wait you out. I'm told that what the Afghans normally tell people who invade the Afghanistan, they say, you have the watch, but we have the time. There are also civil servants who say, you have 5 years, but we are permanent and pensionable. And therefore they wait for you to do your things. And what I must say, therefore, is that all these things are doable. It is not for the faint-hearted. And all of us must try to play our part, whatever it is, in our own small way. And if we do, then we will make our country.
Welcome. Let me say this. You have heard the speech. Crucially, Lumumba is highlighting Africa's greatest asset. And Africa's greatest asset, it is the youth. It is the youth population. And that's why the West, they fear our population. They fear the youth. Because by 2045 or 2050, Africa will be the youngest continent on earth. Okay? Because the average age is between 16 and 18. So Africa is the youngest continent on earth right now. Not will be, it is. Okay? And the youths divided, when the youths are divided, can either become a powerful engine for development or can be a powerful engine of instability. For example, let me just give an example. When youths were protesting here in Kenya during the anti-financial bill in 2021, I think, 2022, 21, when they were protesting, 2023, they started well. They united. And it was as symbolic to all of Africa. Nigerian, it was symbolic to them, symbolic to Ghana. They protested. But at a time it came when they were divided by this politics, money and everything. And then we had a divided youth. And when you have a divided set of youths, it will bring instability because one set is saying stop. Another set is saying go. So we will have confusion. Okay? And that's why on this speech, PLO Lumumba calls for national unity beyond age, rejecting blanket judgment based on youth or old age. Wisdom and ignorance exist in every generation. That is the reality. It exists in the youth generation. It exists in the older generation. So that speech from PLO Lumumba speaks a lot of volumes. It speaks my mind in different way. I never thought of coming out here and speak about this, but when I come across this speech, it was just amazing. So the real society is young and old, not young versus old. That's what we need to stop. It is not young versus old. It is young and old. Okay? Because African crisis is not about age. African crisis is imbalance. Elders who refuse to exit, youth who refuse to appreciate that combination is fatal for a country, is taking the country where? Down. A society where elders clinch forever produces rebellion. And a society where youth rules without wisdom produces chaos. So for me, I think this advice to the youths and the old is important for them to listen. Because somehow we want the youth, the younger generation to take over, but we need to have wisdom too. And it's only by wisdom that we can move forward. And that's why even when Ibrahim Traoré took power, there's some older people, they are still in the position because they were there in 1960, they were there in 1950, they were there in 1970s, 80s. They know about the civil rights, they know about the colonization, they know about the, how we got independence and everything that went on. So they have some advice, one or two, to give out. So for African countries to continue, to grow, to prosper, for an African country to have a good industrial, we need to work together between old people and youth people. And there's a principle PLO Lumumba has introduced, that leadership is intergenerational. This means what? The young must learn, the old must mentor, and the old must know when to leave. A good dancer knows when to leave the stage. It's not that she has retired or she doesn't know how to dance anymore, but because she's a good dancer. You need to know when to exit the stage and pave ways for others so that your legacy can remain on top. Now, Lumumba uses scripture wisely, not emotionally. He reminded us that God told Moses to step aside. Hallelujah. God told Moses to step aside. Joshua was prepared. He was a youth. He was young. So that's called leadership transitioned. Okay? So, and this ideology will destroy the presidency theology that you need to be there for all of these years. So, and this, I think it's a message too to these countries that want to hold election like Uganda. You need to pave way as an older leaders. You need to pave way for the youth. Because a country that is being led with the old only, they will think of, you know what, as long as you have it. Because the older people, like our older parents, our grandfathers, grandmothers, they know if you are satisfied, if your stomach is well okay, you are good. But us, we want technology. Okay? We want electricity every day. We want good roads. So, that energy will only be brought by a youth. You know what I mean? So that is the speech from PLO Lumumba, and I hope it gets deeper into deeper. And I'm praying for these countries that are going to have election. Let's elect youths. You can have an older president as you want, maybe. But make sure within the society, within the constitutions, you have at least youth. Youths taking power too. MCAs, a member of parliament. Let's give it to the youth so that we can have this intergenerational leadership. That will help our country so much. Tell me what you think on the comment section about this video. Until next episode, peace out.